The SMS Baden is not just a beauty, but in its 1918 configuration and the tricolor spotted camouflage is really an eye-catcher. This is the Imperial flagship event reward ship, and as effectively a top-tier German Super Dreadnought, it is also a prime candidate for a Talisman. If she's worth it, and what the prices on the marketplace probably will be, shall be discussed in this video. I hope you enjoy. Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder, and happy Easter for all of you. I'm recording this actually on Monday, Easter Monday, and yeah, I just promoted that Kronstadt to a submarine. So she's a real banger. She's really good, and honestly that was to be expected once I've overcome the fact that this is the third Baden class, and she's actually, not too different. In fact, she is just like the SMS Baden, but with less torpedo tubes and therefore less torpedoes. Everything else is the same: speed, armor, maneuverability, rate of fire, shells, everything's the same. However, the game has considerably changed with the changes to HE, or overall TNT equivalent bursting charge damage, be it from HE shells, from armor piercing shells, sap shells, etc. And therefore it's always a new experience. I found the ship to be really worth it, and in a nutshell I think it's a good Talisman candidate, especially if you consider the costs. With already at $70 for rank 5 premium battleships, which is insane, I think putting a Talisman on this ship is significantly cheaper for just 2,300 golden eagles, especially if you consider future discounts. So you get it for less than 16.5 euros, Gaijin coins, dollars, whatever your currency is. And don't expect from the ship any miracles, but playing this ship and being a bit more experienced with it, giving it patience, you can overcome some of the drawbacks, like you have only 8 shells in the servo. Yes, you have a 26 seconds reload, which is much better than 30 seconds or even 40 seconds. Yes, the American 14-inch gun battleships are crying in the corner right now. But yeah, it's, sometimes you just have the perfect aim, and you wonder what 1 or 2 shells more in a salvo potentially could do. Sometimes it's just that you fire salvo after salvo after salvo, and you just don't hit with one of the shells where you need to hit on enemy battleships. And this was really surprising, considering that the new top Japanese battleship, the IJN Mutsu, with its 16.1-inch guns, 410mm, has a 24-second reload and gave me the feeling of hitting harder. Yes, it has more penetration, especially at range, but it's not like that the Baden is lacking. Oh no, I would say it's still really hard hitting. Especially cruisers hate your firepower, because you have SAP rounds with 68 kilograms of TNT and still considerable penetration, and then there is your AP, having a TNT yield of 25 kilograms. 25 kilograms is in fact almost twice as much as the IJN's Mutsu's 16.1-inch AP has. And just to give you a little bit of, imagination where we are, the Mutsu has at 10 kilometers a penetration just shy of 500 millimeters, so 492 millimeters. And if you look then at the German 380 millimeter guns with the 380 millimeter Panzergranate L 3.5 AP CBC, you're looking at 396. That is roughly 20% less of penetration at range, but that is still considerable. You have problems going through angled armor, you have problems at dealing with you know, ships like the Scharnhorst. But honestly, who doesn't have a problem with the Scharnhorst because of its thick belt and massive turtleback? But yeah, when those shells connect and you hit where you need to hit, then things go boom. Except in this example, where yeah, my secondaries actually penetrate the belt, and apparently I missed with the 380mm ones. And yeah, this is a kill compilation if you haven't noticed, because I played so many battles and I didn't have a single battle that was really worth showing, but I just made so many satisfying kills, and I think this is where the ship really shines, that you have this overall theme of a slow but steady, brutal German slug of a steel behemoth that just is really hard to stop if played properly, and if you know you're not the center of all the attention. But let's go through the things bit by bit. And I want to start with the armor. This is not a review, but because I'm made already so many similar videos about the Bayern and the Sachsen. So a quick recap. We have a belt of 350mm, which is the thickest in the game. And we have an upper belt of 250mm. You have a thick icebreaker of 30 and later 200mm, and a double bulkhead of 140mm and 350mm in the barbette, and then it is a little bit of a puzzle going from 300 to 200 to 170mm. So angling the ship is tricky, especially if you have all those shell catchers where there are the secondaries in their barbettes, and you have 8 150mm per side, so that is considerable secondary firepower, although the shells are a bit lacking. Then the barbettes, as I said, 350mm in the thickest parts, and the turret face is also 350mm thick, but they are rather flat. The upper half is angled with 200mm, and so those turrets can get knocked out, but it's not weak. Then we have also deck plating ranging from 100mm over the rudder to 60mm in the bow section, which makes the ship not that penetratable for destroyers and light cruisers, I'd say, but for battleship shells, distributed armor scheme. And then if you look at the interior, we are looking at an internal deck plating of 30mm and a turtle back at roughly 70mm angled, but only 30mm thick. And the deck is quite matching the waterline, but yeah, the problem is that the magazine is also matching quite the waterline. You have in the middle a lot of coal bunkers protecting the machinery, and sometimes it's really tough to deal damage at the ship when it's rightfully angled. But it's a bit like an oval, so mostly the front part, if you're angling towards your enemy, is always neglecting a little bit the angling effect. But it's still working. Remember, thick belt, but you are no Scharnhorst. And the enemies also have to first hit your vital spots. That brings me to the guns. As I mentioned, 2 shell types, no HE, but SAP, that hits really hard. The penetration for the 67 kilogram TNT warhead is at 5,000 meters 325, and at 10 kilometers still 221. So you are a nightmare to cruisers if you hit them properly. Now the fuse sensitivity and the fuse delay are actually the same as on the AP shell, which is a tier 1 upgrade, 25 kilogram heavy warhead, 800 meters per second, delivering nearly 600 millimeters of penetration at 1 kilometer, 492 at 5,000 meters, and at 10 kilometers 396. So you're dealing really well. And I think that you're not lacking the penetration, but the shell volume per salvo. Honestly, there are ships like the Renown who have an even greater problem in that aspect, but other ships with 12 guns, they seem to really deal consistently more critical damage, not overall damage. But I'm thinking about the 12 gun 12-inch ships, such as the US Premium, for instance. So that brings us to the secondaries. They have HE, but it's a really light shell, only 1.6 kilograms, versus, for example, other 6-inch-ish ships have up to 6 kilograms of TNT. So that is not a lot. Then the SAP has 1.05 kilograms with up to 95 millimeters of penetration, and the AP has 990 grams of TNT, but up to 238. So for me personally, the AP is the shell of choice for the secondaries because it has significantly more pen, but not that much less TNT. And especially light cruisers hate that trick. The torpedoes, yes, you have less torpedo tubes, so only 3, 1 to each side and 1 going through the bow. The torpedoes are not that bad for fixed tubes, but they are not amazing. Your AA is there with up to 4 88s, but you can see for a 1918 configuration ship, it's not really that great. So also the speed with 40-ish kilometers per hour, 41, is not that fantastic. Overall, I really like the ship. I had a blast. I think the AP is doing the work. The SAP is a nightmare for cruisers. You have sturdy armor, but it's like with any other battleship, not a guarantee, especially when you face a Scharnhorst. And that's it for me today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like with it, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.